Hey there everybody, welcome back to MedEd Insights, the channel dedicated to helping you get through medical school and residency training by offering my own personal experiences and insights, as well as bringing you some perspective on my specialty of choice, physical medicine and rehabilitation. And today's video is one that I've gotten a lot of requests to do. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about why I chose to go into physical medicine and rehab for my specialty of choice. So if you've seen my video about being a non-traditional medical student, I had a little bit unique of a background. I had no intention on going into medicine whenever I finished high school, and my undergraduate degree was in mechanical engineering. I started engineering because I really loved this idea of trying to figure out how things worked, how things functioned, trying to fix things if stuff was broken, and just had this very kind of inquisitive, sort of problem-solving related mind, and that was what I really enjoyed. Now, unfortunately, kind of as things changed through engineering school, I ended up not liking the actual work in engineering so much and found medicine and couldn't be any happier. But as I got into medical school, I initially actually thought that I was wanting to be an orthopedic surgeon. And, you know, this definitely made sense to me because orthopedic surgeons do a lot of hands-on stuff. You know, it's kind of a very engineering type field, a lot of stuff with, you know, mechanics and materials and power tools and all this cool stuff that seems very relatable to engineering. So I was dead set on wanting to go into orthopedic surgery. I didn't want to do anything else. It was basically ortho or bust. And I started third year medical school kind of with the intention that if I didn't do orthopedic surgery, I didn't even really know if I wanted to be a doctor. Now, granted, at that point in time, I had absolutely no clue about PM&R. Other than seeing it like all the way down at the bottom at those lists they show you about different step 1 scores and how they relate to different specialties. Fast forward to my third year medical school, and life circumstances had changed a little bit. At this point in time, I was in a relationship and I was kind of starting to think about life outside of medicine. And so there was kind of this whole host of factors that made me realize that maybe surgery wasn't right for me. And looking back, I understand a lot more why I felt that way. I've really learned I don't have the patience to be a surgeon. Like, I couldn't sit in the operating room for hours and really do the amount of fine detailed work needed to be a surgeon. I knew that I didn't want to make the sacrifice that so many surgeons have to make. And also, to be totally honest, my step score was a little bit on the lower side, and so I'll be totally frank, that was kind of one of the initial things that made me think maybe surgery's not for me. During third year then, I was kind of left wondering like what in the world I wanted to do. And to be totally honest, I actually Googled something to the effect of like best kept medical secrets or best kept secret field in medicine. Something to that effect, trying to figure out like there's got to be something out there that I would enjoy doing that I haven't found yet, or that I haven't found out about. And so I came across PM&R. The initial appeal of physical medicine rehab to me was basically the subject matter that we're learning about and what we're studying. And so for those that don't know, physical medicine and rehabilitation doctors specialize in learning the neuromuscular system, and in particular how it relates to different disabilities, whether this be somebody who's had a stroke or a spinal cord injury or someone who just has, you know, a torn rotator cuff. We really learn the anatomy and the neuroanatomy and how it relates to function and biomechanics in order to diagnose and help manage these patients with these disabilities so that we can ultimately improve their overall function and enhance their quality of life. And so right away, that emphasis on the musculoskeletal system and, you know, looking at movement and assessing movement patterns and how people function, and it was all very relatable to me being a former engineer because it was something I could see, it was something in motion, you know, it was almost as if I was being an engineer who was working on like the human body, and the human body was the machine, so to speak. So I went and talked with somebody in the field at my medical school, and the first thing I noticed was how happy this person was. And maybe it was just him being, you know, a really nice, happy person, but it really stood out like how excited he was about his field and how just happy he was with his career. You know, he still had plenty of time outside of the hospital. He still had plenty of time for his family, but he also really loved the difference that he was making for his patients. And so I got even more excited about it, started reading more, and then one thing led to another, and I realized that this really was what I wanted to devote my career to. And as I started to learn about the other aspects of PM&R, it was even more appealing because we have a really unique opportunity with our patients where we're not really just looking at a set of labs or a set of test results, but rather we're talking to the patient and trying to assess how their life has been impacted based on whatever their disability is, be it an ankle injury or a spinal cord injury where they can't move their legs and arms. We have to really take a different perspective and approach to helping our patients. And it's one that I think really makes a profound impact on our patients' lives because it's something they can appreciate. It's something they live with every day. When something affects people's movement and function, they really are impacted by it. And so we have a cool opportunity to help these people in a tremendous way that really shapes their everyday life. I really love that part of it once I learned more about the field, and it's something now in residency I'm really understanding more and more, and almost gets me just as excited, if not more, than the actual musculoskeletal stuff that we're learning about. So the combination of the stuff that we're studying and what we're learning combined with the patient population and the ability to make the difference we can is really the two big reasons why I love this field. One of the other really key ones that I think people forget about when they're choosing specialties is understanding that it's okay to want to have a life outside of the hospital. I think there's a lot of, very high achieving type A type people in medicine who feel as if their whole life has to be devoted to medicine, and if they're anything short of being a neurosurgeon, that they're in some way a failure, or that they're in some way not living up to, what everybody thought they were going to become. People might be afraid of looking at some of these specialties that offer just a really good lifestyle and an opportunity to still be happy outside of the hospital and lower your stress and lower your burnout. And PM&R definitely affords this opportunity. Certainly the pay is not as high as it's going to be if you're a cardiologist or a cardiothoracic surgeon or something like that. But for the amount of hours that you're working, it's more than enough money to actually live comfortably, and so not anything that I think should discourage people. But more importantly, we understand the importance of having good happiness outside of work because we understand how that plays into your overall quality of life. Everybody understands that, family stuff goes on, that you have personal things to deal with, that you have a life and you have an identity outside of being just a doctor or just being a surgeon. And so I love that I can still have my life here at home. I love that I can have time to do other things, to take care of my own health, to be with my family. And there's not too many fields out there in medicine that really make that easier as opposed to harder to do. If that's something that you've been thinking about a little bit, but you didn't really know what fields offer good lifestyles, but yet at the same time you don't want to feel like you're just giving up what you're doing in medical school, check out PM&R. You can really make a cool difference in your patients' lives. It's a great lifestyle, and overall, I'm extremely happy with my decision. Now, to go into kind of some of the different other fields I thought about and kind of compare and contrast why I chose rehab over those specific fields, I already talked a little bit about orthopedic surgery, but I think in general, if you enjoy the type of patients that orthopods are seeing and you enjoy the musculoskeletal system, but you don't want to be a surgeon, then physical medicine and rehab is definitely for you. You can go into sports medicine, you learn a lot about musculoskeletal exam, you do really cool ultrasound guided techniques and interventions and diagnostic stuff. So there's still a ton of that kind of sports medicine orthopedic flavor. You're just not going to be a surgeon. The other one I thought about a lot and people ask me about pretty frequently is neurology. And so certainly there's a lot of overlap. We see a lot of the same types of patients, be it patients with strokes or brain tumors or spinal cord injuries or things like ALS. I think the biggest thing for me was I felt like the exposure I got in neurology, I didn't see as much intervention that actually made a difference in helping the patient. And this could certainly be just a result of what I was exposed to. So I'm not saying that all of neurology is like that, but I got the sense at times that neurology was, for me, a lot of just, diagnosing things and it being very interesting, but I wanted to know what next. So, we'd see patients on the stroke service or in ALS clinic or something, and you make the diagnosis and it's interesting to sit and think about their lesion and how that presents on their exam, but then what next? What are you actually doing to help that person? And a lot of times they went off to rehab, and the rehab was where I really felt they made a tangible difference in terms of helping that person in their day-to-day life. And so I just identified with that more. And I also really like the musculoskeletal stuff, which you certainly don't get in neurology, so that was also another big part of it. But by no means am I trying to say that neurology doesn't actually help people or do anything. This is all my opinion and just kind of the sense that I got as I was going through my experiences and how I made that decision. I think if I wouldn't have found PM&R though, I would have done family medicine, and I think that's because I could have focused more on the musculoskeletal stuff, sports medicine, things like that. But the reason I didn't do family medicine is I really don't want to be doing the kind of day-to-day management of like diabetes and colds and general wellness checks and that sort of thing. I just don't really identify with that type of stuff. It doesn't get me excited or really enthusiastic. And so I realized that instead of having just a small part of my practice be the sports medicine, musculoskeletal stuff like it is in family med, I wanted it to be like the majority of my practice. And so that's why I made the decision for PM&R over something like family medicine. So that's it for this video. Thanks everybody for watching. I appreciate the comments and the suggestions to do this topic. Something I'm really passionate about is helping to kind of spread awareness about this field and get more people interested in it, and at least get more people to understand what it is we do, because I think we really help patients in really unique and amazing ways. And I think if more people knew about the field, it would overall provide better healthcare for everyone, and we'd get some really great people to come in and, you know, continue to grow this great field. So thank you as always for watching. Appreciate this subscribe button or thumbs up if you liked watching this video. Let me know your comments as always, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks.